Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. It's been a hot minute. I've missed it. I've missed filming YouTube videos. I'm hoping that I get to dive in. So as you know, or could probably guess, having a baby it's very consuming. I don't have a lot of free time to film as much as I would like to. I have a whole list of YouTube videos that I want to get done, and just finding the time to do it is the difficult thing. Nash has been dealing with a lot with his tummy, which is very stressful and hard to navigate, which I'm gonna make a video on real soon. I wanna make a video for other mamas dealing with it because I know it's a common issue. But yeah, today I'm going to film my birth story. I was gonna do this whole like cute setup for filming, and then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna sit on my floor and talk to my friends and tell y'all how my birth went down, my labor and delivery with Nash. As you probably saw in my birth vlog, there was a huge snowstorm in Texas, which never happens, leading up to my due date. So my due date with Nash was February 17th, and the snowstorm blew in on Valentine's Day, February 14th. So the roads were undrivable. The hospital didn't have a lot of room there, and I think it's because they couldn't get staff there because the road conditions were just so bad. And we were without power and water for almost a week. I'm 40 weeks pregnant, and all this happened surrounding my due date. So it was very stressful. Like, I had real moments sitting in bed with no power and no water. I had some really real moments with Matt at that point, and there were just times where I would just pray, like, please Nash, like I would tell him, like, don't come now, don't come now. Like, we couldn't drive to the hospital if he came. We would have to call an ambulance to get there safely. It was a situation. So that was very, very stressful. I had originally been scheduled, like actually scheduled, to give birth on my due date on February 17th. My doctor wanted to induce me because I had gestational diabetes, and Nash was a perfect size. He wasn't too big or anything. My body, my blood sugar, and everything was perfect, but she said, let's go ahead and induce you just because of the gestational diabetes, and like growth scans and stuff could be off. I don't want to risk it, la da 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 da. I didn't have an issue being induced anyways. The snowstorm blows in, and my induction date rolls around, and was it the day before? I think it was the day before, yeah. So the 16th, February 16th, the day before my induction date. My doctor called me and was like, hey Michelle, I know we have your induction scheduled for tomorrow morning, but there's another surge of storm that's gonna happen overnight. So basically what happened is it snowed, the ice melted when the sun came out the next day, and then we had temperatures drop way, way low again. Well, all that melted snow turned in black ice on the road. So everything was frozen at that point. And so she called me and was like, hey Michelle, I'm gonna go ahead and cancel your checkup, your 40-week checkup for today. You don't have to come in. Are you feeling okay? Do you need anything? And she was like, we're not gonna be able to induce you tomorrow on your due date. She said, so what I'm thinking is February 18th, we will do your induction. So you'll come in the morning on February 18th, and we will induce you. And so I'm just like, okay, that's fine. It's hard to have something like that rescheduled, which it was for the best because it wasn't safe, but mentally it still gets to you because you know you're getting induced on a certain day. All this crazy stuff happens. Mind you, we're still without power and water. At this point, I wanted to be at a hospital. You get yourself like, so like, okay, this is my induction date. This is what the day I'm gonna go to the hospital and have a baby. And you kind of like get yourself pumped up for that moment. Like, you're like, this is the day. This is the day that I'm going to the hospital to have my baby. I'm gonna meet my baby on this day. And for someone to call and be like, actually, we need to push it back a day, was just emotionally, like mentally fatiguing. Like, it was just too much. So I had to come down off of that high from getting all the bags packed and preparing for my induction. My brother had power and water, so we managed to get there safely, and I got a shower and I was just all packed, ready. We got the dogs taken care of, and that's whenever I got the call that it was getting pushed back. And I was actually getting ready to go to my 40-week appointment when she called. So anyways, the next day rolls around and most of the day goes by, and all day Matt and I are talking about like how we haven't had power, haven't had water, but you know, tomorrow we're gonna get induced, we're gonna meet our baby, we're gonna be safe in a hospital, it's gonna be okay. And we get a call. I get a call towards the end of the day on the 18th, and it's my doctor's nurse, and she's like, hey Michelle, and we're gonna have to reschedule your induction. We're gonna try for tomorrow, which is February 19th at this point. And I am just, because once again, you wake up, you get yourself in the zone, you're on that high, like you're about to give birth. You don't know what to expect. I'm a first-time mom, and it just gets crushed. And I am just like, at this point, I am just so like, I don't even know what to think. I don't know when I'm having this baby. I don't know if he's gonna come on his own. So I just was trying to tell myself that each day that went by, Nash was more prepared to come on his own, and my body was more prepared, and I was trying to like think about it on the bright side of things, but it was very stressful. So then the end of the day on the 18th, we get to the end of the day, and nobody has called me to reschedule or anything. So we wake up February 19th, bright and early. We had to be at the hospital at 5:30. So we got there. Oh, actually, later in the evening, the night before, our power and water came back, which was really nice because we didn't have power and water, and I had been nesting and planning and just wanted the house to be really clean for when our family came into town, and really clean for bringing Nash home. Bringing home your first baby is an absolute dream, and we had to leave the house, or we were gonna have to leave the house in filth. I mean, we had no power and water for like 4 days at that point, and I just lost it. Like, I was crying, and I was like, Matt, I prepared so much. I did so much. I wanted this to be a dream. I wanted to leave the house for the last time and turn and look, you know, at the house and be like, wow, the next time we're coming here is gonna be with our first child. But instead, I thought I was gonna have to turn around and look at the house and it just be a disaster. And we were living like day by day out of a suitcase at this point, because at any moment we thought we were gonna have to go to the hospital. Up until this point, we weren't clean, we hadn't showered, it was just awful. But our power and water came back on the night of the 18th, and then we quickly got the house back together. We both showered. We kind of reevaluated our suitcase situation because we were kind of all over the place, and then we felt like ready to go. Nobody called us to reschedule, and then on the 19th we woke up and went for my induction. Sorry, I have allergies. Also, if you hear Nash crying, he's being cared for. My Momo is here, and she ooh, my Momo's here, and she's watching him. I think she's like doing a rattle for him. So we go in for my induction. It was about 6 o'clock that we got like in the room, settled, got to meet our nurses, did all the paperwork, everything that happens at the beginning. And then by 6:30 they had my IV in, and they were kicking with the Pitocin. I was dilated at 2 centimeters whenever I got to the hospital. We were just kind of hanging out. Something really cool happened. If you saw my I'm in labor video, instead of doing the baby mama dance, I decided to do the Jesse James Decker flip my hair dance. And at about this time, which I'm glad it happened when I was like aware and not in tons of pain, Jesse James Decker DM'd me on Instagram and reshared that video, which was really freaking cool. She is really badass and really friendly, and it just completely made my day. Like, how epic is it that she acknowledged my video and DM'd me on the day that I'm giving birth to my son. It was like a really cool day. Nash had a cool ass birthday, okay? So then probably just 2 hours maybe after the Pitocin had been started, my doctor came back in and she was like, okay, we're gonna go ahead and break your water. And I was like, okay. So she broke my water. Doesn't hurt, didn't feel anything, but I had a ton of water. Like, the nurse was cracking up, my doctor was cracking up, I was cracking up, and every time I would laugh, my water would just like shoot out. And my doctor was like, wow girl, you had a lot of water in there. She was like, oh my gosh, like I was just like drenching towels. And she was like, I think you just lost 10 pounds of water. And it was pretty funny. Now, after your water breaks, that is when shit gets real. So the contractions started coming on strong, like real strong. And so I want to say, so the Pitocin was started at about 6:30. I would say my water was broken maybe like 9:30-ish. And then shortly after, I started feeling contractions. And you know, they say you can't really describe what a contraction is. You can try to, but it is hard to describe. It's just like a lower belly, burning, painful poop cramp. Like, it's wild, okay? I'm glad I experienced it. I wanted to experience it. I don't know how women give birth naturally. And I'm sure you've seen this, heard this on so many birth vlogs. People say women who give birth naturally are a whole nother level. Like, I couldn't imagine, because I was only at this point, when she broke my water, she checked me, and I think I was only like 3.5 centimeters. No. Yeah. I was only like 3.5 centimeters at this point. And I was in a lot of pain, a lot of freaking pain. So I'm like contracting. I'm in a lot of pain. And my nurse came in and she noticed that I couldn't really talk through my contractions anymore. So I was just on the peanut ball, and my feet were I was just kicking my feet, and I could not talk. Like, I couldn't answer questions. I would just like grab my belly. I couldn't talk to Matt. And it eventually got where I was in so much pain that my body was just shaking uncontrollably, like involuntary. And my nurse said it was because my body was like trying to push back against the pain from the contractions. It was like my body trying to like cope or like fight through it. And I couldn't stop shaking. I kept asking my nurse, like, is this normal? You know, like trying to play it cool, but she was like, yeah, it's super normal. Your body's just trying to fight it, but try to relax as much as you can. I know it's hard. And she was like, you can get the epidural whenever you want. So you just tell me when you want the epidural. And she was like, I'm gonna, you know, leave the room. And she was like, try to walk around, try to get on the peanut ball, just do what you can, you know, like sway back and forth, open your hips up. And she was like, I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna come check on you, just do what you need to do. My nurse was amazing. Her name was Christy. I don't think you're watching this, but Christy, you're the bomb. I love you. Thank you. I was just in so much pain with contractions, and my doctor came in to check me again, and I was at about 4 centimeters. I think I was at 4. And she was like, okay, so she was looking at me and like looking about like how I was feeling and what was going on. And she was like, you have transitioned into active labor, and you've been in active labor for about an hour. And she said this transitional period is usually really hard. And so I guess the transition into active labor is a doozy. And so she was like, do you want the epidural now? And she was like, it might be a good time to get the epidural. And so I need my water. I'm sorry, my throat's like, oh. So I was like, yes, I want the epidural. Let's roll it in. I'm ready to relax. I'm ready for my body to progress. I'm ready, you know, I'm ready to chill. I felt it. I experienced it. It hurts. And now we move on. You know, that's just my mindset. No matter how you give birth is freaking beautiful. But this was my plan. This is what's best for me. In hindsight, it was my dream birth. So I'm glad I made the decisions that I did. So I was like probably 4.5 centimeters, and my nurse was like, all right, we're gonna order your epidural. She left the room, came back in, and she was like, you're in luck. He's actually next door. You won't have to wait that long. So the anesthesiologist came in to do my epidural. He was like trying to ask me questions to distract me, but I could not even talk. Like I was just like, like I could not even talk. I was just trying to breathe and keep breathing, and it was a lot. So I had the nurse kind of like in front of me, and she was holding the pillow in front of me, and she just told me to hug the pillow and curl my back really nicely, really round. And Matt was on kind of like in front of me, but like kind of off to the side, and he was just rubbing my leg, and my nurse was rubbing my shoulder, and she was like, you're gonna get relief so soon, you're doing so good. And I was having contractions during the epidural, so that really sucked, but I didn't care. I was just like, I'm getting through these next few contractions, and then I'm gonna feel relief, and everything's gonna be okay. And the good thing about contractions is, I mean, if you plan on giving birth without an epidural and you've never gone through labor and delivery before, the good thing about contractions is they don't last forever. You should be getting like a break in between them. I know it can be different for a lot of different people, but you're getting a little break in between them. The only breaks that I was having in between them was about 3 minutes. So I think that's why my doctor and the nurse were like, let's go ahead and give you an epidural. I was getting really tired. So I didn't feel anything. If you are scared of the epidural, don't be. And I will tell you, I watched many birth vlogs before this, and some of them, now mind you, these are bigger YouTubers, no tea, no shade right now, they know what's gonna get a lot of views and what's gonna get a lot of watch time. So I try to be mindful of that when I watch these birth vlogs, whenever they are screaming while they're getting their epidural. Which hopefully that's genuine, because it would be really effed up to scare women who have not given birth before just for the attention. No tea, no shade, okay? I've seen it too. If you're about to give birth, you've seen it, I've seen it. I've watched all the birth vlogs, and people have put a really crazy thing around the epidural. But everyone that I've talked to, and me personally, and my friends, my family, not one person said they felt the epidural. So when you get your epidural, you get a little like injection in your back, and it's just lidocaine just to basically numb it so you don't feel anything. So she was like, you're gonna feel a little bit of a sting. It's gonna be like a bee sting, and it's gonna be really quick. It's not even gonna last a minute. So I'm like rolled over, like hunched over, and he does my lidocaine injection. I wouldn't say it's a bee sting. Not even that bad. I mean, it was a pinch, and it went numb like pretty quickly. So I don't know, I would say it was just if somebody got their fingernails and just pinched you as hard as they could, and then it was over. And then you don't feel anything. So it's really nice. I welcomed that little bee sting or that little pinch. So got the lidocaine, and then he administered the epidural. Like I said, I didn't feel anything. She kept telling me like, you might feel pressure, you might feel achiness. I didn't feel anything. It was glorious. It was amazing. Even whenever he got done, I asked him, I was like, are you done? Is that it? And he was like, yeah, that's it. And he told me like basically like what the epidural does, what I can do as far as like pain management, like rolling on different sides of my body if it's not working, you know, properly. Basically like how it's gonna feel when it wears off. He was great. So I got the epidural, and that was probably around 12:30-ish. And so I got the epidural, and Matt was like, hey, I'm gonna go down to the cafeteria, and I'm gonna go ahead and get a quick lunch. Because he was thinking that I got the epidural and it's gonna be like a long haul, and I'll have the baby maybe later in the day, like evening, later through the night, you know, maybe in the middle of the night or whatever. So, cause I like just got the epidural, so we thought it was gonna be like a process from there. So he went and got his lunch, and I'm just chilling. I'm feeling amazing. You know, I'm talking to my family. I have a group text, and I'm just, I'm chilling. So then my doctor came in, checked on me with the epidural, and she was like, how are you feeling? Can't feel anything. And I'm like, no, I can't feel anything. And she's like, that's great. How do you feel amazing? I'm like, I feel wonderful. And she's like, good. I'm gonna check you, and then just let me know if you need anything. And so I was like, okay. So she checked me again, and she was like, you are about 5.5 centimeters. So I was like, oh, that's great. I was progressing halfway there, right? So this was like about 12:30 and I was halfway there and I was like, okay, cool. So, you know, if I was halfway there, I might be giving birth around like 7 p.m. maybe, if I was to guess. She left and Matt got done eating, and at about 2 o'clock, so this was an hour and a half later, which all this goes by really fast, by the way. So I'm like chilling, and mind you, in that hour and a half time, since the start of my epidural till when it was time to push, my amazing nurse was in my room like every 30 minutes, and she had the peanut ball. If you take anything away from this birth vlog, take this, please, by the way. She had the peanut ball in between my legs, and I would be on my left side, and then she would come in every 30 minutes, and then she would turn me over to my right side, help me get over, and we just left, right, rotated like every 30 minutes. This, with the peanut ball in between your legs, really opens up your hips. It helps the baby come down. The less amount of time that you can just lay there, the better. Because whether you're having an epidural or an unmedicated birth, you need to help your body. And I know with an epidural it's harder, so you really need to advocate for that. Whether, if your nurse isn't helping you, your husband or your significant other, your partner, whoever's in the room with you, your mom needs to help you. You've got to keep moving. You have to open your hips. You have to help that baby come down. And that is the best piece of advice that I could give anybody giving birth. And I didn't expect that. I didn't expect for my nurse to come in and expect me to be still so mobile with the epidural in. And she helped me, like she was determined. And doing that, an hour and a half later, it was about 2 o'clock, and I told her, I was like, you know, I feel a little different in my lower area, like kind of in my butt area, like down below. And she was like what? Like pressure? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. I just feel there. Like not feel like pain, just I guess a sensation of pressure. But it was really light and it wasn't constant. It wasn't like a big thing. I was just like, you know, I kind of feel like a little heavy down there. And she was like, okay, well, let me know if it's like constant pushing down there, pressing, because not pushing, I wasn't pushing. She said, let me know if it's like constant pressing pressure, because that could mean that it's time, like the baby is ready to be delivered. And I was like, oh, okay, it's not constant. It's just, I just barely noticed it. Not a big deal, whatever. So she was like, okay, just let me know. So she left the room for like 5 minutes, and she came back and she started putting gloves on, and she was like, you know, I'm just gonna check you. And I was like, okay. So, and mind you, I felt like I just got my epidural. I felt like I just got the epidural, okay? It's only been an hour and a half. So she opens my legs, checks me, and she's like, oh, yeah, there's a baby there. We have a head. She was like, you're complete. And she was like, Dad, you wanna come see? And Matt, mind you, Matt had no plans of looking, watching, anything, but he said in the moment, it wasn't a thing. Like he just said that it's just completely different when you're like living it and you're experiencing the moment together. It's a real moment. It felt real. It's like a real moment together, and it didn't feel like a thing. I don't really know how to describe it, but it just didn't, like, and I didn't care, you know, and he didn't care. And she was like, come on, Dad, come look. And he looked and he was like, oh, it's right there. He's right there. He was like, and I was like, can you see him? And he was like, yeah, I can see the top of his head. Like he's right there. And so I started crying immediately, and I just started like shaking. I don't know if it was my adrenaline, maybe the epidural too. And I was just shaking uncontrollably. And she was like, okay, so he's right there. And she was like, before we call the doctor, I want to do a few practice pushes just to like teach you how to push and whatever. So I'm like, okay. And I'm like nervous, you know, you've never done it before. You just want to do it right. You don't know what you're doing. And she was just like an awesome coach for me. So she was on my left side, Matt was on my right side, and she basically was like, I'm gonna prop your feet up. And she had Matt help like put my feet in the little stirrups. And she was like, but we're not gonna help you. I want you to put your arms underneath your legs and you're just gonna dig deep. And she's like, we're not gonna help you. She said, we're gonna guide you. And she told Matt, like, guide her, you know, support her ankles, support her feet, support her knees, put them back, you know, whenever they need to go back, but don't push on her. She needs to do it. So I was just like, okay. So she was teaching me. I could talk about this forever. I loved giving birth, by the way. I loved giving birth. I would do anything to experience it again, which makes me really kind of emotional. What the hell? Didn't expect that. Anyways, so I start pushing and she's like, you're gonna push for 10 seconds, you're gonna take a deep breath, and you're gonna push for another 10 seconds. And I was like, okay. And she was counting for me. So I just like, you know, bear down, whatever, push. I pushed with all of my might. I was just like I was just, noises were coming out and I was trying to contain it. I wasn't screaming or anything, but it was just like, I was pushing so hard that my breath was leaving. Like my mouth was like sputtering because my breath was just leaving out of me. It was the most effort I've ever put into anything in my entire life. And even Matt after was like, babe, I've never seen you like that. But he was like really impressed, and you could tell that he just was really proud of me. And he was like, wow, like I fell in love with you deeper and all over again, because he was like, I've never seen you like that. You were like a badass, like, and so determined, you know. And I was working really hard, and I'm proud of myself too, but like to see your husband like just so proud of you. And he told like everyone after like how amazing I did, and it's just so beautiful. Anyways, so I did one practice push, and she was like, okay, I'm gonna check you real quick, see if we made any progress with that push, or if we're gonna keep practicing or whatever. So she goes down there and she's like, okay, no more practice pushes. And she like gets on her thing and she's like, we need the doctor in room blah, 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 and a birthing team in room blah, 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 blah. And these people came in and the lights came on, the bright lights, and I am just shaking and I'm crying and I'm looking at Matt and I'm like, is this really happening? And she was like, you're a really great pusher. And I was like, good. I love hearing that, but holy shit. So my doctor, we actually had to wait on my doctor for a little bit because she was wrapping up a C-section. And she said that there's a breezeway kind of thing in the hospital from one part of the hospital to the next. And she came running down the breezeway and ran in the room, and she was like, I'm so sorry. I was helping another mama with a C-section situation. I was like, that's okay. I'm just really nervous. And she was like, you're gonna do great. And she came in and my nurse was like, she's complete, she's ready. We did a practice push. She's a really great pusher. Like, and everyone was just hyping me up, and my doctor was like, okay, let's have a baby. And I can't describe how that felt. Like, dude, it was the best feeling ever. It was the best feeling ever. I can't wait to experience it again. I would do anything to like relive that. It was amazing. Don't be scared if you're gonna give birth. It didn't hurt. And it was just so beautiful, and I just enjoyed every second of it. And I love the things that I chose for myself for my birth, because it was for me. It fit like a glove. Everything was just so beautiful. So anyways, I start pushing at around 2 o'clock, and I did a push, and she was like, that's really great, we're gonna do it again. And so I pushed again. I guess where Nash was, so he was making his way down and like out of me, but he was like, his face was pressed in a certain spot for too long and he didn't like it. And then she was like, mama, I don't like his oxygen level. So I guess his oxygen level like started to go down a lot, and she was like, I don't feel comfortable with his oxygen level. And she was like, let's get you oxygen, sometimes that helps. So they put an oxygen mask on me, and I just took really good deep breaths, and she was like, okay, this next contraction, push. She was like, you need a push. And I was like, okay. So the next contraction, I pushed with all my might, and his head was out. And she was like, Dad, you want to come see? So Matt was like, yeah. And he went and saw, and that's the first time that he saw Nash's face, and he was just like amazed and mesmerized. And he looked at me and he was like, babe, oh my God, like it was amazing. I'm a little jealous that Matt saw his face first, but that's okay. So my doctor was like, okay, next contraction, we're gonna have a baby. And I was like, okay. So I pushed again, and I was just pushing, and they were like, come on, Michelle, harder, a little further. And if you think that in your head while you're pushing, like you're reaching for something, or you're looking down a long hall, and towards the end of it, you just want to get a little further. And that's all I could picture was I would push with all my might, but then I would push further, and I would push harder. Whenever I thought I couldn't anymore, I would just go a little more. And once you get past that, you're making progress. Like that's all I could describe, like how I was picturing it in my head. So I pushed, and I heard him scream. You know, if you watch my birth vlog, you heard that scream. He still screams like that to this day. And she said, all right, look at your baby, mama. Pulled him up, and I saw my husband's face. He is the exact twin of my husband. I literally was like, oh my God, it's Matt. It's a little mini Matt, which made me fall in love even deeper. And they put him on my chest, and it was just the best experience ever. The best experience of my life. I would do anything to be able to relive my birth with Nash over and over and over again. I love the energy in the room. I loved being hyped up like that. I just felt like so powerful, and I felt like I was doing the most important thing that I've ever done in my entire life, which I was, you know. And it was the best feeling ever. It was the best feeling ever. It was right in that moment, I knew that that's where I was meant to be. It's like the earth stood still, and that's where I was meant to be at that time. And it was just amazing. And I hope I get to experience that several times again. But anyways, it was awesome. And I guess my nurse had turned off my epidural right before I started pushing, so she timed it like wearing off just beautifully, and she was amazing, and everyone was just so amazing. And when it wears off, it just kind of feels like your legs are asleep, and then it's totally gone. The recovery after birth was really uncomfortable. Lots of soreness, like extreme soreness, but I didn't experience the pain that I had expected to experience, which is crazy to me. Our bodies are absolutely amazing. I mean, by day 2, yeah, by the next day, I was like up and ready to shower. I was put on makeup even, and I just was feeling really good, which is crazy. We're just freaking badasses, okay? Us women. So I know I'm gonna get this question a lot. I did have a small tear that had to be stitched up, but the stitches just dissolved, and they dissolved really quickly. I feel like recovery was super quick. And I will say that as long as you take care of yourself during your pregnancy, then you will probably recover really well. So just keep that in mind. I do want to say before I end this video, I have a theory. I have been a bath taker, so I've been taking baths my entire life. Well, I probably started taking baths when I was like a sophomore, junior in high school, but I've only taken baths ever since then. Like, I'm a bath taker. I don't take showers. I take a bath every day. So I don't know if that had to do with me barely tearing or being okay down there. I mean, I don't know. I had the ability to stretch during childbirth because they're soaked in warm water every night. That's just a theory. I don't know if it's the truth, but it could be a thing because my best friend is only a bath taker as well, and she barely tore as well. But it could have just been a coincidence. But anyways, I just wanted to share my birth story with you. Hopefully this video is not too long. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them down below or DM me on Instagram anytime. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any other videos. I'm gonna be posting so many more motherhood experience type of videos to help you out. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
'Cause you glue all the pieces back together. Yeah, you take all my wrongs and make them better. Yeah, you're making me wanna try forever. And I feel so free, oh my sweet baby.